Hello everybody, and welcome back to Animal Crossing City Folk. I just realized I did not plant our red turnip yesterday. Ugh, excuse me. So I think it'll actually be properly ready by Sunday instead of being ready to be dug up on Saturday. Yeah, it's snowing. It's actually snowing in real life too. Actually snowed a lot last night as well. Because Canada, snow, it happens a lot. People don't like it. I like it. It's relaxing. Not as relaxing as rain, though. Like, that is something I will always hold. Like, it's very likely not going to rain for many of you for a very long time. Well, depending on where you guys are. If you're in an area where it rains, next time it's raining, just go sit by a window. Close your eyes and just listen to the rain. It literally sounds like, a steak cooking. It's great. I love it. But that's not really what I want to talk about today. I will slow and speak. I actually want to talk about a post that the Zelda Universe Facebook page made. Well, a poll they made of if Skyward Sword was an underrated game or not. And the vast majority of people agree it's pretty underrated from their poll. Like, it was 60-something to 30-something last I looked. So that's a pretty, big variance there. And I honestly agree. I know a lot of people don't. A lot of people, like, there's been a lot of people reply to this poll. A lot of people do think the game isn't overrated, that it's just bad. Or, well, you know what I mean. I think I'm remembering the wording of it wrong. If it's underrated. Blech, I think I said that, but yeah. I'm tired, if you couldn't tell. But a lot of people think it's overrated. And I think it's underrated. I honestly quite love the game. And I've heard a lot of complaints about it. But a lot of them boil down to things that are problems in other Zelda games too. Like, oh, Fee is annoying. They don't tend to add in the early game, because she actually develops as a character and is really cool later, but no one ever seems to acknowledge that. And oh, the stamina bar is annoying. Yeah, but your default just running around speed is about the same as it was in every other Zelda game. The only difference is now you can sprint temporarily. Like, I don't think people realize this. It's the same speed, it's just now you can sprint. No, you can't do like the Ocarina of Time, like side hop everywhere. But quite honestly, if you're that impatient, why are you playing a Zelda game? Especially one of the older ones, or a 3D one to be precise. Well, specific, whatever word works. Like, the only 3D Zelda that does not start incredibly slow is Majora's Mask. And it mostly doesn't because the game assumes you played Ocarina of Time first. Like, that was back during the day when developers assumed you played every game in the series and they didn't need to explain things more than once in the entire series. Then it became pretty obvious that, yeah, there's people who never played previous games, and they probably should explain things again. And that's where we get these slow, redundant tutorials from, that tell you things that you'd think everyone should just know, but there's a thing to remember, and it's part of why people dislike Skyward Sword. When Skyward Sword came out, motion controls were new. Using the Wiimote for a game with its motion controls was very foreign. It was almost like picking up the controller for the first time. Yes, Skyward Sword had to explain a lot of its controls to you, and even then, you can skip most of it. I think the only forced tutorial is telling you how to vault up things and jump over small gaps. I suppose it also does the sword tutorial, because, well, they have to teach you how to use the sword. Literally almost every game has that sword tutorial, because they have to teach you how to use the different swings. Majora's Mask, that sword tutorial is optional and you get a piece of heart for doing it. If you do it perfectly. Also, that breathing into my nose didn't work quite right. I apologize for that. But, like, the Skyward Sword has some of the most, honestly, creative dungeons in the Zelda series. And also succeeds at keeping almost every item viable. Until the bow shows up, in which case the slingshot becomes pretty much useless. But that's what always happens when you have two ranged weapons, and one of them doesn't really deal damage, the other one does. But they both fire a ranged projectile. Like, that is just what happens. And, like, a lot of people get at the boss that, you know, the octopus on the sand ship. Because, oh, it's so Do you not play other Zelda games? Literally, that fight, in my opinion, is them pointing out to you how boring the game could be if it wasn't so different. Because if you think about it, that boss is how you fight every other boss in the Zelda series. I mean, like... That was also even just part of, like, Egoraptor's, you know, big rant video, which honestly is probably where a lot of the Skyward Sword hate comes from. Because it's just a lot of people that heard him go, I don't like it, and went, yeah, I like Aaron, I don't like it either. Like, you know, even though they had probably no opinion on it before that. I mean, I'll admit, when I first watched his, you know, I think it was Sequelitis on Zelda, I agreed with a lot of what he was saying. But at that point in time, I had yet to even play the game, so I still didn't go around saying it was a bad game. From what he said, I agreed if everything was as bad as he made it out to be, yeah, that sounds pretty bad. But quite honestly, yeah, Skyward Sword is different. But it's not different in a bad way. The game is different in it's a more story-driven experience that uses motion control. I mean, the big complaint I've seen a lot of people make is, oh, well, the motion controls desync often. If you flail, yes. Yes, they will. Flail with any motion control, and it'll desync. Even if you're using, like, the PlayStation Move, which has a camera watching for that little glowy ball, if you flail too much, it will desync. It's not gonna desync permanently. It will resync itself. Whoops. I've been playing other games too much. I thought I had to sell these things one at a time. I am dumb. I'm tired. But there you go, you get to see the prices for a few things. I'm gonna check the upstairs. But like, I've yet to see any motion control that doesn't desync if you flail around too much. Do I have a pawn? I don't think I have a pawn. I'm gonna buy it anyway, even if I have one. I can always use more pawns. I need like 8 of them, so... I actually forget how many squares the chessboard is. It's either 8 or 9, something like that. I don't know. It's some number. I'll figure it out. It's been forever since I played chess. I'd love to play chess with someone. But, yeah, like... Skyward Sword did one thing that almost no other Zelda game has done. I say almost, because I'm willing to bet that it has done this for some other people, just never for me. It made me care about Zelda. She wasn't just some princess who was kidnapped by a pigman / edgy dude / you know, well, no, that was Din that got kidnapped by the knight. Like... Din isn't technically a princess, so I mean, I can't really count her in that. But like, it actually made me care about Zelda. And aside from at one point, Zelda, as far as I remember, was never actually kidnapped in Skyward Sword. She was actively doing her own thing. She was actually playing an active role in the game. And the one point where she was kidnapped, that did bring to one complaint I have with the game, and that's just Impa's a jerk. Yeah, she had to save Zelda. And then she just teleports away with Zelda, and by the time you catch up to them, Girahim almost gets his way in killing Zelda. Because you weren't there to protect Zelda. Because Impa was a jerk and decided, no, I'm not gonna teleport you with us. Because she was just salty. But I need to note, with this, I'm not hoping to, like, convert anyone to liking Skyward Sword if they don't like it. You don't like it, that's fine. I'm just saying you should probably re-examine why you don't like it. Because a lot of the reasons I've seen people bringing up either fall into the category of they're basically just going, it's new and I don't like it. Or they're just complaining about things that are issues in every Zelda game. I mean, not even Breath of the Wild is safe from the hit the boss in the glowy weak spot. I mean, that's just a thing in Zelda games. And that you know, that's something people complained about. Like, oh, the octopus boss, you have to shoot it in the eye with the bow. Yeah, and the first boss in Ocarina of Time, you shoot in the eye with the slingshot. Like, it's something you've done forever. There's even bosses in the 2D games where you shoot it in the eyeball with a bow. There's enemies in Link to the Past where you shoot them in the eye with a bow to kill them. That's not anything new with Zelda. If you hate it in one place, hate it everywhere. Like, that honestly frustrates me. 'Cause it's... To me, that's just people hating it because it's different. And they're just trying to find reasons to hate it because it's different. Which, honestly, as someone who's attempting to design games, really makes me not want to try to innovate anything. Because if it's too different, people are gonna hate it because it's different. Like, if you look at the reason why Nintendo made motion controls, it's because they're a family-oriented games company, basically. And motion controls are very family-oriented. They're easy to pick up, they're easy to grasp, and let's be honest, they're not that hard for us gamers to actually pick up. And they're not hard for someone who's never played a game before to pick up. They're honestly pretty simple. I mean, that's why motion controls became a thing. And let's face it, with how many units the Wii sold, they were quite accepted at their inception. Except if a game actually used them. I mean, think about this for a second. How many of you actually went out and bought Wiis? That, to me, says that you at least liked the idea of motion control. And I'll admit, early Wii motion control wasn't great. But the Wii Motion Plus exists, and I think Skyward Sword didn't even come out until that was a thing. So... I mean, I don't remember when Skyward Sword came out. I do remember it's a game that we managed to get day one, which was pretty nice. I didn't get to play it for like a week, because anytime I'd go to play, my oldest brother would usually be on the Wii doing things. which, you know, left me just kind of like, well, okay. Because that's kind of like a normal trend with this house. And I imagine it is with every house that has siblings. One will start using the console, and then others will go to look to use it, and, you know, they just can't because someone else is already using it. The only major difference is well, my oldest brother kind of had and still has to a major degree a habit of any new game. He'll just sit and play for hours on end, to the point where there's a few times I can distinctly remember where we got a new game, and he basically, by the time it, you know, it was while he was out with people shopping, and immediately upon getting home, he put it in and started playing, and the next morning he's still sitting there playing. Like, and then he would go to sleep for like 5-6 hours, get up, and then do it again if no one was using the console. Like, he has a pretty bad habit of doing that. But I'm getting off topic. He actually didn't do that with Skyward Sword, though, which is getting back on topic. And he didn't because he hates motion controls. He has no real justifiable reason. He just doesn't like them. They're new. He doesn't like them. And he gets very pissy with me anytime I actually mention that to him. Because he's never had an actual legitimate reason. You know, oh, they desync. Well, they don't really. Not if you don't flail around, and he doesn't. And I've also noticed that, conveniently, any times he has a major problem with motion controls, like of them not working properly, it always seems to happen when I'm not around, or in a lot of cases, when nobody is around. It's almost like he probably doesn't have any issues with them at all, he's just complaining for the sake of complaining. Which I can kind of get behind. I like to complain for the sake of complaining. It feels good to complain. It honestly does. You should, if you don't believe me, you should try just complaining to yourself about something at some point. Just find something in your head that bothers you, and just sit and mumble to yourself, complaining about it. I mean, it feels remarkably good to do that. Like, another thing with Skyward Sword a lot of people seem to complain about is the imprisoned fights. And most people I've seen complaining about them complain because, oh, you have to cut off its toes, and then it falls down, and you have to... You don't have to do that. You can fight it in a really action-packed way that has the fights over in a few minutes. And for those who don't know, I'll explain. Basically, in the imprisoned fight, you know those little air chutes that can send you up a level? Use one, get above it, jump down on its head. Do a downward sword draw and then a downward spin attack, and you'll just jam the spike into its head. You don't have to knock it down at all. I honestly thought that's how you were supposed to fight it my first time fighting it. So I never did the cutting its toe method until about a year later when I was playing the game again. And yeah, I'll agree, that method sucks. It makes the fight so time-consuming. But that's kind of the beauty of Skyward Sword. There isn't usually just one way of doing anything. With the exception of a few bosses. I mean... a lot of the problems that people have are either, you know, they're self-imposed, not a big deal. Hi, Amelia. I've gotten another present that clashes with my personal taste. Why do people do that to me? What am I supposed to do with a playroom wall? Did you take this off my hands, kiddo? Sure. Oh, really? Thanks so much. Here it is. Do you want anything for it? Did my neighbor think that kind of gift would make us best buddies? Seriously, why are so many gift givers so thoughtless? Yeah, that's a perfectly Amelia thing. Oop, I think here's another fossil. Yeah, I'll stop repeating myself on just the Skyward Sword issue. Because, like, I know I'm just repeating myself a lot. Because, well, it's... everyone generally has basically those same little issues. And it's honestly annoying to me. I mean, I'm not saying you can't dislike Skyward Sword. But usually, from what I've noticed, the people who dislike Skyward Sword for it, you know, the game itself, also tend to dislike the other 3D Zelda games. Because they just don't like 3D Zeldas. I think the one thing that almost every Zelda fan can agree upon is that Majora's Mask is one of, if not the best Zelda games, just period. Like, taking 2D, 3D games both into consideration, Majora's Mask is one of, if not the best Zelda game. And I don't think there's really any argument that could be made there, because it has something for everyone. Like, it has silly moments, it has serious moments, it has sad moments, it has story, it has action, it doesn't have a tutorial character that just bogs you down with hours of tutorial. Like, it has everything. I mean, I'm one of those people that, as much as a lot of you watching this will probably slightly dislike me for this, possibly majorly dislike me, I don't like Ocarina of Time. I never did. As a kid, I could literally never sit through the beginning of the game. It was so long and so boring that I just couldn't do it. I tried many times. But I just got so bored that I just had to stop and go do something else. And nowadays, trying to go back and play it, I still have that same problem. Where I just get bored. The beginning of the game is so boring. Like, a few times I have gotten to, I'm just gonna chill here and talk because it's snowing and I like chilling outside. Like, a few times I've gotten to, like, Jabu Jabu's Belly, or even into being Adult Link. But by then, I'm just so bored. Just so bored, I just kind of want to stop. And quite often, I'll stop and just go play Majora's Mask, or Skyward Sword. Because both games get you into the game faster. Like, it's a similar problem I have with Wind Waker, of the beginning of the game is so long. Like, you have Outset Island, which takes, if you're not rushing it, if you're actually playing, you know, as anyone would their first time, it takes probably around half an hour to an hour for the Outset Island segment. And then you get to the Forsaken Fortress, where you're gonna go another 10, 15, 20 minutes before you've even gotten your sword back. And quite honestly, with Wind Waker, I've never gotten past the Forsaken Fortress. I get too bored. I legitimately get too bored. Now, I will say one of these days I will likely have a playthrough on this channel of Wind Waker. It will undoubtedly be with my girlfriend as well, because she likes the game. And honestly, I want to like it. I don't want to dislike a Zelda game. And from what I've seen of Wind Waker, once you get past the boring early game, it picks up. The ocean does look pretty empty and boring as well, but we'll probably be doing the HD version where things were scaled back a bit. Like, oh yeah, one last thing I need to bring up about Skyward Sword. A lot of people complain about the save and quit being told about the collectibles again. To those people, I need to ask, have you ever played Twilight Princess? Like, ever? Because there you'll be told what a blue rupee is about 40 times throughout your adventure. Like, it's not great. If you're gonna complain about that, then once again, you need to also criticize Twilight Princess. Like, the Zelda games as a whole have always had issues like that. Which does make it really unfair to get at Skyward Sword as being, like, the only one that this issue exists with. When it's not. And also, I know what a lot of you are thinking, yes, I have considered just making outright rant videos over just some generic things. I just don't think they'd get that, they'd do that well, so I don't. Yeah, I don't think I had a pawn. Cool, I don't have a pawn. I don't have anywhere to put it. I'm gonna put it in the basement for now because I don't have any storage space because I've still yet to clean out my storage. And hey, we're not using down here for turnips no more. So let's just, bam, pawn. But yeah, I think I'm just gonna stop ranting and end this off now. It's been a long video. So with that, I think I'd like to remind everyone that I do have a Patreon, should you wish to throw money at my face. And it is quite a face. Just throw money at that. But if you don't want to or can't, that's perfectly fine. Though if you are interested in taking a look, there is a link down below. That said, I thank you all very much for watching, and hope to see you again next time for more Animal Crossing City Folk. See you all then.